Hello, my cubs, and welcome back to another episode of the Bear Bar Tales. It is I, the one bear, that is still upset that Ford made a new crossover electric SUV and decided to call it a Mustang. I mean, come on, you made the Mustang a freaking crossover before you just gave us 4 doors on a real Mustang? You butchered the rest of your car lineup. Just call it the new Taurus or Focus. Hell, you can even go old school and call it the Pinto. But no, you had to take your admittedly not terrible new crossover and butcher decades of history in that badge just to sell a few more of them. Well, I'll tell you now, Ford executives who I'm sure are watching this, the name of a bear who will not partake in this charade. The Bear Bard. Sorry about that long rant to start this episode. I'm very passionate about this. Well, maybe I can make this up to you by bringing back a style that I love to cover, and that's short stories. I know we tend to cover these grand epics of cringe and tomfoolery, where we see Stephen King levels of over-detail given. We sometimes find out our OP's favorite books and movies, maybe their dog's middle name and their favorite childhood trauma, all in the hopes that gives us better understanding for the tales they are spinning. But sometimes, we can tell these stories in far less space. What if we can get the same point across in just a few sentences or a couple paragraphs? We'll always have room for grand tales, but sometimes it's nice to just get to the point. Meh. Hey, Mossy Man. Wait, if you're here, what am I forgetting? What? What do you mean give these brand new dice away I just got from yourwizards.com? These things are amazing. I'm not just trying to give them away. Oh, you think I should hold a contest for people to earn this set? What could possibly warrant me giving these up? They're freaking amazing. That's not a bad idea. Well, you heard the Mossy. I hold here a gorgeous dice set from yourwizards.com. If you're wanting to get this from me, you can enter the contest I am dubbing Bear Bard in Space. This will be an art competition. The rules are simple. If you're interested, you'll make a piece of art in any style or medium of the Bear Bard in a sci-fi setting. That's it. The setting can be from any established universe or something completely made up by you. It can be funny, serious, happy, sad. It's all up to you. The only damper I'll put on there is keep it somewhat safe for work. If you have questions on what this means, you can either ask in the comments or jump in my Discord. For entry, be subscribed to the channel and send your entry into either the contest channel in my Discord or the email bearbardtalescontest@gmail.com. In that email, give the name that you would like credited, and if you have any Instagram or some sort of portfolio, send that in so I could also put that in the video description. Now, to avoid any bias I may hold, I'll be getting help judging these from the other members of Dice Goblins, and a few people from outside. Wow! I am not going to repeat that. It is neither helpful nor encouraging. Meh. Well, that's your opinion. I want to thank yourwizards.com for sponsoring this contest. They provided this absolutely amazing dice set for me to give away that values at $65. If you're like me and love dice, make sure to give them a look. They have so many beautiful sets available, it's tough to decide on just one. You could also follow them on Instagram for updates and new products coming out. If you do, make sure to let them know that the Bear Bard sent you. Here's where I normally give the standard spiel about subscribing and all the things, but I think I've dragged this intro long enough. So make sure you're subbed, and let's go ahead and get to today's first story titled, DM Bullies PC Who Had to Leave at the Agreed End Time by Killing Their Character. Second session of the campaign, we hit the agreed upon end time. DM wants to keep going, but one of the PCs needs to leave. I'm the most experienced player and typical DM, so she asks me to run her character. As she's leaving, the DM starts joking that he's going to kill her character as soon as she leaves. 10 minutes later, we get in a fight on a mountain path. She's an archer, so I put her in a defensible position that's behind the front line, that's also away from the slope. I declare a ready to action to fire her arrow at anything that approaches the group. DM decides that the enemy can leap over the frontline fighters, attack her without provoking our opportunity attacks or letting her use her ready to action. On a hit, he declares she flies through the air several spaces and falls off the cliff and dies. DM ends the episode noting that it's not his fault because he's just running it by the books, and it was a bad die roll. Some people just can't accept that real life and real schedules are a thing. D&D is a great game and can really help people de-stress and get away from their day-to-day, but you still have to deal with real life. If you all decide on a start and end time, you can't punish somebody who needs to stick to that. No matter how bad you want to keep playing, they still have to go to work or school or take care of the kids or family or anything else. Point is, if you agree to a stopping point, you can't really get mad at them for meeting that obligation and moving on to the next thing. On top of that, even if they left early, getting some petty-ass revenge because they left is just childish. Then you can't even do it fairly. You have to take some random bandit, have them go Super Saiyan to kill her. If you can't handle people's schedules, then maybe you shouldn't be DMing. At least I hope the PC bounced after that. Now, on to our next story, titled, Player Wasn't Paying Attention. So we were at the end of our small campaign. The enemy was escaping in a vehicle and the group was trying to carefully figure out how to handle this. Suddenly, our quiet player launches a missile from his robot and blows up the vehicle. Except he never had it on his sheet. No missile was ever given to him. So I asked, "Where did you get the missile from?" He replied, "Oh, I picked it up from the robot place." "You mean the silo?" "Yeah, that. We passed it and I picked it up." "You mean the 200-foot missile the group shot last session?" "Oh." So I'm gonna go ahead and put myself on blast a little here. If I'm guilty of anything while playing, it's listening to people give a whole spiel and literally only retaining maybe half of it. It's not on purpose, it just literally doesn't always stick. I also have really bad hearing. Now, was this me? No. But just wanted to throw it out there that just because somebody misses details doesn't always mean there's some POS that doesn't care. That being said, I don't have enough info here to truly determine quote-unquote guilt. Did the DM make a big deal about this event while they were just sitting there on their phones not paying attention? Or was it a small thing said nonchalantly as they passed? Either way, as a PC, try to pay attention. It sucks when everyone's on the same page except for you. On the other side, if you see someone struggling with keeping track of everything, just try to help them out. And if that one person is you, try to take better notes. It's a tough commitment, but worth it. But onward to the next story, titled, The DM That Planned Nothing. This was a while ago, but I just found this subreddit, so here I am. I found a request for new players on the Mr. Ripper Discord, and it looked good. Time zone was perfect, players were there, even people I met in on other campaigns were there. Session 0 was there too, even character creation and backstories. But then, the session. Nothing was there. No world, no setting. We were even in a tavern that had nothing inside. DM was only doing things if we pointed it out. Where's the barkeeper? DM adds a barkeeper token. There? Didn't take long and I left. Found a better setting for my tiefling artificer. So another thing I may sometimes be guilty of is not prepping as much as I should. Now, I always have something, because even if I don't get everything written down, between sessions, I'm always trying to think of stuff for the sessions. But for session 1, I always have something. Session 1 is when you should have the most. Here's where you're trying to set your tone, set up your story, establish your worlds and characters, and allow the PCs to establish themselves here as well. If you only ever prep for one thing, session 1 should be it. Not saying don't prep for every session, just throwing emphasis on one. I get that being DM is a lot of work, and that's why you get all the sympathy from us YouTubers in these stories. If you're not willing to put in the work, then maybe just stay a player. Now, one caveat with all this is if he's a new DM. It doesn't say in the post. If so, then you gotta work with them. They don't know what they don't know. Sometimes you don't realize what you even need to prep. Or sometimes even if you did prep, in that moment, especially for a new DM, you can totally forget. I still do this quite a bit. Prep a character or situation, then when the players get there, I go full dumb and have to shuffle through the notes trying to find the details. Oh, you talked to the king? He introduces himself as, here, it's here somewhere, oh yes, King Tim. Again, not sure what the thing is here, so as DM, give yourself the help by prepping, at least a little bit. And as a player, give slack to new DMs, if they are, in fact, new. Now, avanti to the next story, titled, I guess we're taking a break? Here's a little bite-sized horror story as a break from all the long ones. At a one-shot amongst strangers, a local group does games at a bar in the city. 3 players at a table of 5 would just randomly get up and leave the table, presumably to smoke or something, but they didn't say anything, just walked off several times while the DM stared helplessly. This one feels like I'm missing something, but the visual just hit me funny for some reason. I just imagined that each time they all get up, it was synchronized and just cryptic as hell, like the DM is in the middle of a real dramatic part. As you enter the lair of the beast whom you've striven to find for many moons, the stench of death and decay fills your nostrils. Your heart beats hard as you think of the atrocities this beast has committed. Hey, where are you going? You guys drink, smoke? Are you coming back? No? I guess I'll just go fuck myself then. Real talk though, your DM works hard. If you need to get up and do your thing, cool. Just work it out with the group so you don't throw off the pacing. Anyway, el siguiente, titled, Dude Doesn't Get That D&D Is Not an MMO. I had a whole falling out with a player who constantly got mad at the CR of encounters, and got mad at me for undermining the frontliners as a whisper bard with a melee build and wasting my inspiration to use psychic blades instead of buffing the frontliners. The player eventually got kicked for not paying attention and general bad behavior / attitude, so his lack of ability / interest in adjusting was certainly not isolated. Anyway, he was really into Final Fantasy XIV. I had never played nor had any interest in it. Later, I started playing a bit and realized how the class / raid system worked. I didn't super enjoy it and I stopped. Months later, I realized that this guy was mad at me for being a support class trying to DPS. Very silly. Anyway, the game after he left was plenty fun and we mostly handled the encounters the DM threw at us with few issues, because the DM had never made us run down every single enemy or punished us for not having the right ratio of support, DPS, and tanks. I think this here is actually a fairly common problem for new players. Not so much that you get a prick who feels like he can tell people what to do, although this is fairly common unfortunately, but they think back on their video gaming experience for their TTRPG. There are things you can bring over for sure. You can even still use some of the terms. I still refer to my characters as either tank, heals, DPS, or support, but they are definitely different mediums for a reason. They play very differently. Have you ever tried to listen to that guy who thinks he's a video game designer try to critique a TTRPG? It's the worst. It's not even that guy's dumb, it just doesn't always carry over. Even something as universal as a story is told differently in TTRPGs over other media. The other problem with this is that super linear thinking that because someone is a certain class, that just means they fill a certain role. I think we can all be guilty of this, especially if you're a bit older and cut your teeth on properties like Vanilla WoW, where a class meant a role, despite them having the quote-unquote ability to do something else. But with 5e in particular, with each new subclass released, they're really giving more class options. Now, are you making a barbarian healer? No, but you can make that barbarian more of a tank, damage, or even support. I have a particular liking of the bear totem warriors with barbarian. Not sure why. I mean, it sounds like this guy was a dick anyways, so not much worth getting into him criticizing other people's class / playing style. I guess just to say, don't do that. There's a difference between wanted helpful advice and just being a prick. And now to the penultimate story, titled, I don't think casting command was the problem here, Chief. The original post here was titled, Doesn't it feel rude to cast spells like Hold Person, Banishment, and Calm Emotion to deal with in-party quarrels? I did it once. Our party had a chaotic evil barbarian, an evil drow rogue, a paladin, a cleric of Tyr, me, and a wizard. We've accepted a quest to help some people overthrow an oppressive ruler. On the road, we've met some people. Paladin tried to talk to them, but Barbarian was like, Screw it, I don't want that talky stuff. I want to kill people. Seriously, that was literally his motivation, and attacked them for no other reason than being a chaotic evil barbarian. I tried casting command on him to make him stop, and, of course, the chaotic evil barbarian instantly became hostile to me. We reduced him to 0 HP, but then the drow, I don't remember the details, but he started describing himself doing gross thing with the dead PC's bodies. And now the wizard was like, Screw this, those people are nuts, I'm leaving. It was literally the second scene and the party broke up. The DM had to restart the game with different characters and some different players. Oof. From the opening party description alone, I could never guess that this party would have had an issue. I mean, you want to give your players the freedom to be what they want, but you also want to make sure your characters can get along. Some people consider chaotic evil to be a red flag on its own, as most people that choose to play it have no idea how to nuance it. And having a cleric of Tyr with him? Well, let me just read you the opening bit from the wiki. Tyr, pronounced Tyr, was the lawful good, greater god of law and justice in the Faerunian pantheon. He was the leader of the coalition of deities known as the Triad. So you have Edgy McEdgerson in the same group as the default lawful good choice of god. Now let's circle back and take that bit about chaotic evil players. I know for a fact that there are players out there who have the ability to play chaotic evil characters well. I also know for a fact that there are people out there who know how to play barbarians past brawn smash, brawn drink, brawn sleep. but damn if it doesn't feel tough finding them sometimes. I'll admit, there are far more good barbarians out there than chaotic evil players, but people who do both well are a very rare breed. The problem is that people will use alignment as the direction their caricature of a PC will go. I mean, we call them lawful stupid and chaotic edgy for a reason. People, here's a little tip. When making a character, start with the character themselves. Don't even consider alignment. Think about them, who they are, what they want, what drives them, why do they do what they do. You take that and then you flesh it out. Get the details, give them quirks, give them likes and dislikes, give them loves, give them their principles and morals. Then, once you have a character, a truly fleshed out person, then based on that, decide what their alignment. You set the alignment to match the character you already have, not guide the creation of your character. But character ran aside, they needed a session 0 to figure out this character comp. I think if in a session 0, they had said out loud that first line explaining what they had, someone would have maybe thought, meh, better not. But let's go ahead with today's finale, titled, This is what happens when I ask my DM for clarification. Hey DM, I still don't know what this item in my bag is. Stone, medium-sized, enchanted? Are we following the short rest rules for item identification? Can potions be tasted to identify? No, they can't be tested. So the only way to identify them is an arcana or medicine check? I thought tasting was rules as written. Sure, why the f*** not? Go ahead, just give everything away and make the story useless. I was just asking. I'm a new player. I'm trying to familiarize myself with the many, often complex rules of this game. The way you responded makes me feel like I can't ask questions because it somehow will be met with hostility. I felt it was an honest question, but I guess I overstepped somehow. Please let me know how I should proceed in the future to avoid the situations like this from ever happening again. I'll tell you what, that DM is lucky he was talking to someone so level-headed. I mean, some people are so damn afraid of criticism that they'd rather just strike out at people from the get. Not even people who are criticizing them, but people they perceive to be attacking them. And God forbid they're actually right like OP here was. You know, it really is sad to me that people are introduced to the medium like this. Like, it really is such a great thing for people, but how many people get scared off by pricks like this? It takes so little to both humble yourself to criticism and welcome people's questions. If I can listen to my toddler ask me why we can't drive the car upside down into a train underwater 30 times in 5 minutes without yelling at him, I'm sure you can field a question that you're technically wrong about anyway. And honestly, it's okay to be wrong. You're DM. Just tell him, sure, rules as written technically says that, but not in this campaign. You'll find out why that is eventually. You make the rules here. Just make sure that they're communicated to players and consistent throughout. Now, while this isn't another story, look at this meme I found while looking for the other stories. Everyone look at me. I'm the centaur of attention. Ooh, 7 stories and a meme just like that. I feel like the time passed by too quickly. Let's go ahead and take a peek then into the Bearbard's Cave of Art and Wonders. This week we finish up with the sketches drawn by Discord user Oni depicting the events of our first community server event in which we had people write fanfiction of one or more of the members of Dice Goblins. It was a ton of fun, and if you want to join us on the next event, I'll leave the link here for the Discord below. Our first image here is us all vibing, and potentially raising Ko's blood pressure while also lowering her willpower. She loves us. Next is a femboy interpretation of Crow and I playing board games at Wendy's while Drake leans on his body pillow for comfort. And finally, we have Ko implementing aggressive negotiation tactics to collect her late fees while in a secret meeting. As a bonus, we also have one from Discord user Pineapple Man. I believe this is another take on the different moment within that same secret meeting. I loved being part of the event and I'm pumped for the next one coming up. But with that, bare facts. The California grizzly, or the Ursus arctos californicus, was a subspecies of particularly large grizzlies they used to call California home. With blonde-tipped fur and their incredible size, they actually closely resembled the Kodiak bears of Alaska. Now, you may have noticed I said was. The California grizzly, despite being on the state flag, is actually extinct. Starting in the late 18th century and going through the 19th century, settlers would regularly lay out poisoned bait, go on hunts, and put large bounties out on the bears. They would even capture the bears and pit them against bulls in an arena. The final nail for the bears was the California Gold Rush. Within 75 years of the discovery of gold, the last California grizzly was shot. Now, California has been in talks of trying to reintroduce them in the most California way possible. through cloning, which there have never been any properties out there teaching us that cloning animals capable of tearing people apart is a bad idea. California, I think you just need to accept that you ruined another good thing and move on. Although the fact that you were called the bear state feels a bit ugh. Now, I think that's going to do it for me today. I want to thank you all for sticking with me till the end. If you like what you heard today, make sure to give the channel a sub. If you want to help support the channel further, you can go look into my Ko-Fi, where you can sign up for a membership or a one-time tip. If you want to check out the Bear Bard and other forums, you can check out my Discord, Reddit, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok. You can also check out the Bear Bard Tales podcast, available pretty much anywhere. I've actually just started streaming. It's nothing crazy, but I've been going through a playthrough of Dragon Age Origins and being able to hang out with some of you late at night. I plan on doing more streams in the future, so make sure to check out the channel. Before we go, I want to give a quick shout out to my Ko-Fi subscribers. At the Bear tier, we have Armandeus, and at the Mossy tier, we have Novatonics and Roving Gritters. Thank you all for the support. It motivates me more than you know. For now though, this has been the Bear Bard. Remember to stay kind, stay beautiful, and keep on living that bard life.